Hi guys, welcome back to our channel, and in today's video we are going to balance this equation where we have H2SiCl2 plus H2O on the reactant side, H8Si4O4 plus HCl on the product side. So to start with balancing this equation, we first need to know the total number of atoms on both reactant and product side. This really helps to balance this equation within minutes. So always try and figure out the total number of atoms on both these sides, because it becomes really easy to balance it out. So for hydrogen we have 2 plus 2, 4 over here. Do not forget about the hydrogen atoms that are in water molecule over here. On the product side we have 8 plus 1, because we have 8 hydrogen atoms over here and 1 hydrogen atom over here. So we have 9 hydrogen atoms for the product side. Si we have 1 atom over here, as you can see, and for the product side we have 4. For chlorine we have 2, and for the product side chlorine we have only 1. For oxygen atom we have 1, and for here we have 4. So once you know the total number of atoms on both this reactant and product side, it becomes really easy to balance this equation. So we will first start by trying to balance this Si atoms on both the sides. So to balance it off, we need to have 4 Si on the reactant side as well. So for doing that, I am going to add a coefficient 4 before this molecule. So now we have 4 Si atoms on both reactant and product side. But adding this coefficient also changes the number of hydrogen and chlorine atoms, so we have to update that as well. So on reactant side now we have 8 plus 2, 10 hydrogen atoms. Chlorine we have 2 into 4, 8 chlorine atoms, and we are yet to balance the oxygen and hydrogen atoms. So the next step would be to try and balance the chlorine atoms on both the sides. I'm going to balance hydrogen and oxygen atoms in the end, because it is it keeps on changing and it is quite tricky if you start balancing it at the start of the equation. So always leave hydrogen and oxygen atoms for the last. So for balancing the chlorine atoms, we have 8 on the reactant side and we only have 1 on the product side. So let's add a coefficient 8 before HCl, which will give us 8 chlorine atoms, but at the same time it does change the number of chlorine atoms on the product side. So now we have 8 plus 8, 16 hydrogen atoms on the product side, but we only have 10 on the reactant side. So now if you come to oxygen over here, we have 1 O over here and we have 4 oxygen atoms over here. So to balance it out, I'm going to add a coefficient 4 before H2O to have 4 oxygen atoms on the reactant side as well. Now doing that, we will have equal number of oxygen atoms on both reactant and product side, which is we will have 4 atoms of oxygen on both the sides, but in turn it will also change the number of atoms for hydrogen. So now we have 4 into 2, 8 plus 8, that is 16 hydrogen atoms for the reactant side as well. So now if you look at this equation, it is completely balanced by adding coefficients before this molecules, and this is the balanced equation of H2SiCl2 plus H2O. It is quite tricky and it can seem challenging at first, but always try and start by looking at the number of atoms on both reactant and product side and start balancing the atoms stepwise. Always leave hydrogen and oxygen atoms for the last, and this way you'll be able to balance an equation. I hope this video comes in handy for your next test, and if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.